Do you love Fast and the Furious? You're going to love our list. Don't love the franchise? You're still probably going to come away with more appreciation for the insane amount of work that goes into the movies by the time this list is done. You'll even learn where on earth Tommy Lee Jones was supposed to fit into the franchise. With the eighth and perhaps biggest one yet racing its way to theaters, there is never a better time to dust out numbers 1 to 7. Don't have time to watch the franchise? How about instead you learn some fast and awesome tidbits to drop into conversation with your friends? Naturally, plenty of the conversation is going to steer around one of the biggest names of the franchise, Vin Diesel, and that's where we have you covered. Diesel has been through a lot with the franchise and we've done our best to cover it all as we pop open the hood and take a look at Diesel's thoughts on the character he's helped bring to life. Whether it's what his favorite moment was, who the first choice for the role was, how much he made for Fast 7, and turned down for number 2, and all the details behind his famous feud with Johnson, there is no shortage of fantastic facts. Many people are going to see and enjoy the latest Fast and the Furious movie, but it definitely isn't going to be the same movie without the inclusion of Paul Walker. But one thing you may not know is that it was a video of Paul Walker that helped motivate Diesel to agree to sign on for the 8th one. It wasn't just a question of whether this franchise could work without Paul. It was whether I could even survive doing it without Paul, but then I'd seen this video of Paul guaranteeing 8, while we were making 7. That hit me. Diesel may play a tough guy on screen, but his bond with Paul Walker was understandably close. Sure, this fact may be at least kind of centered around Helen Mirren, but it includes a quote from Diesel, so we'll let it slide. There are plenty of outstanding actors who have stepped into the Fast and the Furious franchise and helped give new life to it. But with Fast 8, it's some old blood that we're looking at. Helen Mirren admitted at a red carpet event that she had been wanting to be in the franchise for years, leading Diesel to respond, "I respect that. That's what you need to do in this business. I don't care what anyone thinks. I know the deal. I know I want to work with this dude, and I know I want to work with this franchise. There are so many options. You've got Natalie Emanuel's mother. You've got, of course, the matriarch to the Shaw brothers." Diesel clearly ran with that thought, as she was later cast as Magdalene Shaw. When interviewed, Mirren gave Diesel further credit behind why she wanted the role. "It was particularly because I wanted to work with Vin because I just think he's just so spectacular on the screen. He's just got something. He's a real movie star. He's got something magical on the screen." There is no shortage of real feuds that have gone down on movie sets in Hollywood. In fact, it was definitely heavily reported that Diesel and Johnson may have been at each other's throats during the filming of this franchise. My female CO stars are always amazing and I love them. My male CO stars, however, are a different story. Some conduct themselves as stand-up men and true professionals, while others don't. The ones that don't are too chicken shit to do anything about it anyway. Candy asses. When you watch this movie next April and it seems like I'm not acting in some of these scenes and my blood is legit boiling, you're right. Diesel has come out though and said that the media definitely made too much of it. In my house, he's Uncle Dwayne, and I'm proud of that. We still love each other, that's my boy. I called and he said, "Brother, I will be there shoulder to shoulder with you to make sure it's the best movie in history." And he delivered. Plenty of fans out there, and perhaps even more vocally the critics, are wondering why on earth this franchise continues to pump out movies, though the dollar is a pretty big indicator. But when talking about the upcoming movie, Diesel was open about the amount of growth his character has gone through and how it may play out on screen. Fast 8 is different. It's very dark. My character is conflicted in a way that is really going to shock you. He's coming off of a lot of emotion from Seven and the loss that Seven represents. It's kind of cold-blooded. It's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. We're sure you wouldn't be alone if you end up deciding that one viewing of the upcoming movie won't be enough. Understandably, Paul Walker has been a topic of conversation for Vin Diesel throughout their time working together, and more prominently following Walker's tragic passing. When talking about Walker's influence on the upcoming movie, Diesel wasn't shy in mentioning the impact that his death had on the entire production. "There wasn't a second we made this movie, not a minute you can ask Gary, not a day that went by that we weren't thinking about our brother Pablo, how to bring him into the movie, how to represent him, and how to make something that he would be proud of." With early critics praising the movie, it's certainly looking like Diesel accomplished his goal. Now, when you consider that Furious 7 ended up making over $1.5 billion around the world, you need to understand that Vin Diesel was probably going to get paid a pretty penny to return to the franchise. But you may still be astonished to hear that Diesel's contract helped him bring home $47 million for the film. When putting together a list of the richest actors in 2015, Diesel took home the number 3 spot, trailing behind Jackie Chan and Robert Downey Jr. It's clear that one of Diesel's biggest strengths isn't just displayed on the screen, but also in the negotiation room. You're going to read more about why Vin Diesel elected to step away from Too Fast, Too Furious, but you may also be interested to hear that it was his request for the rights around the Chronicles of Riddick franchise, which he had previously starred in but was unsuccessful with critics or the box office, that persuaded him to cameo in the third. I think this was about the time that Fast 3 had already shot and they were testing it. Maybe it wasn't testing as well as it should have, and they decide, maybe we need a cameo from Vin, because he wasn't in that movie. So, I do believe that in his savviness, Vin said, "Don't pay me for that cameo. Just give me the rights back," said David Twohy, who directed Diesel in Chronicles of Riddick. Do you have some issues with the Fast and the Furious franchise? Don't be afraid to voice them online. Diesel admitted in a past interview just how big of an influence fans can be. They were petitioning for Letty, Rodriguez's character, to come back, he said. "That was real," said Diesel when discussing why Rodriguez's character was brought back into the fold. Diesel also boasted that no other franchise in the world has a fanbase that is as influential, including explaining why Johnson's character was added to the franchise. "There was a girl named Jan Kelly who said, 'I would love to see you work together on screen.' So the role that was originally written for Tommy Lee Jones, we gave it to Dwayne and he shined in it." If you're out there wondering why Hollywood seems to be coming up with less and less original ideas and more franchises, then you may not be the hugest fan of the Fast and the Furious, which is now on its 8th movie. But if you love the movies, which logically you do because you're reading this list, you may be ecstatic to hear that in a past interview Diesel admitted that there'll be 10 films total. "Universal has been so good to me and so trusting of the vision, they have been like family. I promised the studio I would deliver one last trilogy to end the saga. Though considering the 7th one made over $1 billion, we wouldn't be surprised if they push for more than 10. If there are things in the franchise that you may feel they're lacking, innovative car scenes and huge set pieces are definitely not among them. Yet when interviewed, Diesel confessed that there was one element they would have loved to have introduced already. "There was a theme we were playing with, this idea of flying cars. There's actually a scene that never got shot where Jack is throwing his cars at the wall and Brian says, 'Hey, man. Cars don't fly.' Which was going to dovetail and set up all of the flying cars in this movie. Perhaps that interview and line will still work as some foreshadowing, as we aren't even close to seeing the last of this franchise.